Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Now the news in full. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered a full investigation into the gruesome killing of a housewife, Fatima Abubakar, and her 6 children at the Karinesi community in Kano State. In a statement issued by his Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, the president condemned the attack, describing it as barbaric and condoled with the bereaved family. Tinubu also commended the police for the swift arrest of the principal suspects and directed security agencies to ensure diligent prosecution. Meanwhile, former national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, has condemned the brutal killing of a housewife and her children in Kano State, describing the incident as tragic, inhumane, and deeply disturbing. He said the killings are a painful reminder of an urgent need to protect innocent lives and sustain peace in society. In a statement issued by his Chief of Staff, Mohammed Garba, Dr. Ganduje expressed deep sorrow over the incident and extended condolences to the bereaved family and residents of Doraye Chiranshi community in Gwala local government area, noting that such acts threaten communal harmony and must not be allowed to persist. The former Kano State governor commended the Kano State Police Command for its swift response and the arrest of suspects linked to the crime, urging security agencies to ensure thorough investigation and diligent prosecution. He also called on residents to support security agencies with timely, credible information to strengthen community safety. In the same statement, Dr. Ganduje also mourned the death of a prominent businessman and community leader, Alhaji Bature Abdulaziz, describing him as a towering figure in Kano's business community and a former leader of the Kantinkwari Market Traders Association. He prayed for the repose of the souls of the departed and for continued peace and security in Kano State and the nation. Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in Davos, Switzerland to lead Nigeria's delegation at the 56th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum. A statement by his senior special assistant on media and communication says the vice president was received on arrival by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuggar, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, and officials of the Nigerian mission in Switzerland. The forum, which brings together global political and business leaders, will be held from January 19th to 23rd, 2026. Meanwhile, Vice President Kashim Shettima has officially commissioned the Nigerian House located on the Davos Bernade at the ongoing World Economic Forum meeting in Switzerland. According to a post by the Senior Special Assistant to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Media and Communications, Office of the Vice President Stanley Owocha, on his X, formerly Twitter handle, the commissioning marks the first time the Nigerian government has established a dedicated sovereign pavilion at the World Economic Forum. Owocha said the facility is a product of public-private partnership aimed at centralizing Nigeria's investment narrative on the global stage. The strike by workers of the Federal Capital Territory Administration remains unresolved despite a meeting between the union leaders and government officials in Abuja. The meeting was convened to address workers' demands and find a possible solution to the ongoing industrial action. Kabir Hassan tells us more.
Hopes of an immediate resolution shade after a closed-door meeting between the Joint Union Action Committee and officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration ended without a breakthrough. The workers had embarked on the strike over unresolved welfare issues, including conditions of service and other outstanding entitlements. While both sides engaged in discussions, union leaders say their concerns were not adequately addressed. Speaking after the meeting, the Vice President of the Joint Union Action Committee said consultations will continue, but stressed that the strike remains in force until workers' demands are fully met.
The reason is that the strike continues. There is no headway. If we can achieve what we want, we'll call off. If not so, we are going on, and by the grace of God, I know God will give us the energy to sustain this strike. So many. We have issue of promotion, our wage award. issue of promotion, pension, NHIS, and so many other things. So many. We have up to 22. Yeah, I've already given them, and they are not upcoming. So many guys. We ask them to at least, even if it is 50% of what we have asked for, if they can do it, so they will call off the strike.
The FCTA has faced a shutdown as the Joint Union Action Committee of the FCTA embark on a strike over unmet demands. And after an emergency meeting with the FCTA officials, the union said strike continues despite no resolutions were made, but promised to call off strike if demands are met. I am Kabir Hassan, reporting for Global TV News.
To increase budgetary allocation to the education sector to 15%, in line with the recommendation of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. These measures form part of the agreement signed between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, tagged Stabilization and Restoration Fund. The funds will be paid in 3 equal installments of 10 billion naira yearly from 2026 to 2028 and managed by the National Universities Commission. Over now to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has congratulated the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, on his re-election as chairman of the African Mineral Strategic Group, describing the development as a strong endorsement of his leadership and Pan-African vision. In a statement issued by Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, the president said Alake's re-election underscored the confidence reposed to him by his ministerial colleagues across the continent, noting that the AMSG has, under his leadership, continued to articulate a united African position on the management and beneficiation of the continent's mineral wealth. Alake was first elected chairman of the forum in 2024 on the sidelines of the Future Minerals Forum and was re-elected at the group's 2026 annual general meeting held alongside the same conference in Riyadh. Meanwhile, the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals Development has denied claims by the Northern Elders Forum that the federal government violated the federal character principle by sitting a gold refinery in Lagos. The ministry made the clarification in a statement issued in Abuja by the Special Assistant on Media to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Segun Tamori. The statement noted that the allegation misrepresented comments made by the minister, Dr. Dele Alake, regarding the planned inauguration of a gold refinery project and ongoing reforms in the solid minerals sector. Moving on now to the federal government has amended the cybercrime charges filed against activists and former African Action Congress presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore over a social media post in which he called President Bola Tinubu a felon. The amended charge was signed by a team of prosecutors led by senior advocate of Nigeria Akinolu Kehinde alongside 2 other SANs who are overseeing the legal proceedings. The reverse charge delisted the social media platforms X and Meta Platforms Inc., which were initially named as the second and third defendants in the case. Workers under the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, and the Federal Capital Development Authority, FCDA, have embarked on an indefinite strike, resulting in the closure of government offices across the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, and its area council. Now, the strike follows a power warning issued last Friday when the workers announced their intention to down-tool over unresolved labor and welfare-related concerns. The industrial action was initiated by the Joint Union Action Congress, JUAC, which instructed employees at all levels within the FCT public service to withdraw their services. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, has forecast a mix of dust haze, sunny conditions, and isolated thunderstorms across Nigeria from Monday to Wednesday, with reduced visibility expected in parts of the country. The forecast was contained in 9 Minutes Weather Outlook released in Abuja. The Outlook highlights health, travel, and aviation concerns as suspended dust particles and intermittent rainfall are expected across the northern, central, and southern regions. The federal government plans to spend about 206.5 billion naira on poverty alleviation project in 2026 budget, an amount that represents less than 1% of the proposed 58.47 trillion naira total expenditures submitted to the National Assembly. A review of the 2026 appropriation bill shows that all poverty-related allocations across ministries, departments, and agencies, including the service-wide vote, add up to 206.5 billion naira. These equal roughly 0.35% of overall federal spending and about 0.89% of the 23.21 trillion naira capital budget. You are watching the live broadcast of AM News, but AM News continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign, and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Thank you for joining us. Our major weather highlight today is a surge of moist maritime winds affecting most of the southern region and parts of the north-central cities. And this will result in higher humidity levels and warmer conditions across these areas. For the coastal zones, early morning thunderstorms with light rains are expected to affect the southwest coast as well as Cross River and Akwa Ibom states. As the day progresses into the late afternoon and evening hours, rainfall is likely to spread more inland, affecting parts of Ondo, Osun, Ogun, Oyo, Edo, Imo, and Abia states. Up north, conditions remain mostly dry and sunny. However, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, and parts of Sokoto states will experience moderate dust haze with reduced horizontal visibilities of about 2 to 5 kilometers. Residents in the rainfall areas should watch out for brief rain showers, while aviation operators should check the NIMET e-flight folder portal for the latest weather briefings before each operations. And that's your weather update. Join us again.
You're welcome back from that weather forecast. In business now, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, says the non-oil sector earned $6.1 billion from export in 2025, marking the highest performance recorded by the sector. The executive director of the council, Noye Ayeni, made this known while presenting the 2025 non-oil export performance and the outlook for 2026. Business correspondent Kikelomo Okere was there for Global Television.
The executive director of Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Noye Ayeni, says the non-oil export earning rose to 11.5% year-on-year in 2025, surpassing the $5.46 billion recorded in 2024. She noted that export volume also increased to 8.02 million metric tons, up to 10% from the previous year, reflecting steady growth across agricultural, industrial, and mineral products. According to her, Nigeria shipped 281 non-oil products to 120 countries, including Netherlands, Brazil, and India. The council attributes this record performance to strategic government policies under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed Hope agenda, capacity building programs for exporters, enhanced compliance and monitoring, as well as strengthening partnership with development agencies.
Non-oil export performance in 2025 reached an all-time high. The non-oil export sector rose. Export rose to approximately $6.1 billion, representing a year-on-year growth of about 11.5% over and above the $5.4 billion recorded in 2024.
Looking ahead, 2026 promises further growth, she says. NEPC also plans to expand value addition, strengthen clusters, reduce export reject, broaden SME participation, and leverage international trade agreements such as the Nigerian UAE CEPA to open new markets. These measures aim to consolidate Nigeria's position as a leading non-oil exporter in Africa and globally.
This 2026, we will continue to recalibrate and re-strategize to be able to achieve much more superlative performance.
The NEPC boss reaffirmed its commitment to supporting Nigerian exporters and growing the non-oil export sector. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
The National Agricultural Land Development Authority, an agency of the federal government, has received a significant boost in the 2026 appropriation bill, with a total allocation of 25 billion naira, up from 7.43 billion naira in 2025. In 2025, NALDA's allocation was entirely for capital expenditure, primarily for land acquisition, land clearing, and the purchase of agricultural equipment aimed at increasing food production across the country. There were no separate recurrent costs in the 2025 budget. The 2026 budget, however, shows a more detailed and expensive approach recurrent expenditure total of 1.04 billion naira, covering personal costs of 274.75 million naira and overheads of 763.26 million naira. The federal government has unveiled a new national housing strategy anchored on land reform, urban renewal, and public-private partnership to address Nigeria's growing housing deficit. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, disclosed this in a hearing during the 14th National Council on Lands, Housing and Urban Development meeting. The theme of the 2025 Council meeting is Achieving Housing Delivery and Sustainable Cities Through Effective Land Management, Urban Renewal, Promotion of Local Building Materials, and Public-Private Partnership in Nigeria. On the foreign scene now, United Nations says 3 years of war have put the Sudanese people through hell, blasting the vast sum spent on advanced weaponry at the expense of humanitarian aid and the recruitment of child soldiers. Speaking in Port Sudan during the first wartime visit, UN Human Rights Commissioner Volker Turk said the population have been subjected to horror, citing that funds that should be used to alleviate the suffering of the population are instead spent on advanced weapons, particularly drones. Here is Zaru Nasru's report.
Since April 2023, Sudan has been gripped by a conflict between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces that has left tens of thousands of people dead and around 11 million displaced. The United Nations estimate that more than 21 million people are facing acute food insecurity, and 2/3 of Sudan's population is in urgent need of humanitarian aid, with the UN repeatedly warning of rampant interference from foreign actors.
The Sudanese armed forces must cease these intolerable attacks against civilian objects that are indispensable to the civilian population, including markets, health facilities, schools and shelters. Again, I leave with a plea that human rights be central to building confidence and bringing this war to an end, to resuming the difficult task of building a sustainable peace. It is certainly very difficult, but it is not impossible, and I feel very much encouraged.
In addition to the world's largest hunger and displacement crisis, Turk noted that Sudan is also facing what he described as the increasing militarization of society by all parties to the conflict, including the arming of civilians. The United Arab Emirates has been widely accused of supplying the RSF with weapons, mercenaries, and political backing, which Abu Dhabi consistently denies. The army's biggest backers are Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and it has reportedly also received arms, including drones from Iran and Turkey. Zahra Nasr, reporting for Global TV.
To some very sad news now. A tragic road crash in south of Johannesburg has claimed the lives of 13 school children. Police say a minibus transporting pupils to schools collided with a truck near the industrial city of Vanderbilt Park, about 60 kilometers from Johannesburg. Investigators believe the driver lost control while attempting to overtake other vehicles. The death toll rose after one critically injured child later died in the hospital. Several other pupils remain seriously hurt. Authorities say the victims included both primary and high school learners, some as young as 6 years old. Images from the scene show the minibus crushed on the roadside as distraught parents gathered behind police tape. Some collapsed in grief when they were allowed to identify the bodies. Grunten Premier Ployana Lusu described the scene as devastating. Israeli forces have wounded several Palestinians across the Gaza Strip after flaring on civilians and carrying out air and artillery attacks in what Palestinian officials described as near-deadly violations of the ceasefire in place since October. Medical sources said the Israeli drones fire at early hours injured civilians in the Zinton neighborhood of southern Gaza City in the south. 2 people, including a young girl, were wounded by Israeli gunfire in Al-Mawazis west of Khan Yunis. The Israeli military also carried out airstrikes on buildings in Rafah, while artillery shelling hit areas east of Jabalah in the north and the Tofa neighborhood of Gaza City. Further rising concerns over the durability of the ceasefire. In sports now, the FIFA Women's Championships Cup took another major step towards its holistic conclusion with the unveiling of the tournament's new trophy, which will be lifted by the winner of the FIFA's first Global Women's Cup competition. According to a post from FIFA's X handle, the trophy revealed took place in London and was shared with pupils from a school near Brentford Stadium, the venue that will host the semi-finals on Wednesday, 28 January. Former England international and Arsenal legend Alex Scott led the unveiling alongside FIFA Chief Football Officer and 2-time FIFA Women's World Cup winning coach Jill Ellis. FIFA President Gianni Infantino condemned some Senegal players for the unacceptable scene during the AFCON final in which the eventual champions walked off the pitch in protest at a penalty awarded to Morocco. FIFA President Infantino condemned this in a statement describing it as unacceptable to abandon the field of play in that manner. And that's it on AM News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @GlobalTVNG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Up next is Global Morning. Stay tuned.